Mercedes had a really bad start to the 2024 racing season, but something exciting might happen in Miami. The team is bringing lots of new parts to make their car faster and fix the tricky race car they built for the 2025 season. But their car has so many problems, and they're trying to learn about a new design they don't know much about. Russell, one of their drivers, gave some ideas that Mercedes really wants to try in their new upgrade package. But here's the thing. Could Hamilton, their other driver, have an even harder time with this new car since he already struggled with the last two versions? So what parts is Mercedes going to change to make their car faster in Miami? Well, the upgrade package that Mercedes made for Miami was actually supposed to come out at a different race called Imola, but the team got tired of waiting for more races and going into weekends not knowing how their car would work. Their team boss, Wolf, said, "It's no secret that they'll be testing new things on the car at every single race during the 2024 season. So there's no point in waiting for more races to see where the team stands with their car, especially after the car's performance keeps changing so much from one practice session to another when they change the setup on Hamilton's car. Some of the bigger parts that will get changes are the side pods, which will be completely redesigned. In other words, we're going to see an even bigger cutout in the side area to help the airflow better through that part. Besides the side pods, it's clear that the floor of the car isn't working well either. That's why the car will now have a floor that gets lots of work done on the edges to help seal the air better. The main problem that Mercedes has been fighting is not having enough downforce. This happened because they tried to fix the first problem with the new rules having too much downforce that stopped the car from working in the best way possible. This is why Mercedes might go back to basics and finally try to develop what they thought was wrong in the 2022 and 2023 seasons. Russell told the team to take a more bold approach in this direction. When talking about the Miami upgrades, Wolf said, "I think the car is hard to set up and hard to drive, and that's why you have these ups and downs in performance. In my opinion, I think where the car is and where Lewis's car was, it was definitely far away from the best it could be, and it's driving on a knife edge. So this is where we are for Miami. We are bringing new parts, and it will be interesting to see how they're going to work on the car." Wolf also pointed out that the upgrades should be a step in the right direction, because they're going to target one very important problem the car has had for the past few months. That problem is not being able to match the results from their computer simulator with the real track data. The aerodynamic map of the car is one of the biggest flaws that the car has shown, and that could very well come from the fact that the team changed lots of design ideas. On top of that, they don't have the same crew working on it, with changes to the design team happening every month or so. This might be one of the reasons why Hamilton made a funny comment about not being a car designer and wishing he was one, so he could fix the problems the car has. And looking at his unusual good mood after getting knocked out in the first qualifying session, you could safely guess that the 7-time world champion is slowly but surely giving up on this project, and is now starting to focus on his future with Ferrari. That mission will be made easier after Russell's latest comments. He told the team to bring themselves back in time and work with something they know rather than experiment a lot and try to find a miracle amount of performance in just a few months. Looking at his comments, you could guess that Mercedes would be looking at making Russell's needs the priority, and the first upgrade in Miami could very well be the first step in that direction, the young British driver said. "We've had 2 different setups in China, both of which produced very similar lap times and performance, so the work needs to be back at the factory. And ultimately in Formula 1, the more downforce you have, the faster you'll go. The setup is just the cherry on top. I think there is no magic solution in finding performance. We just need to keep adding it and focus on the basics, which is in the wind tunnel and in the computer simulations. Just adding downforce. Maybe sometimes it's as simple as that. I think we have understood enough so far that we just need to add downforce. We have changed ideas and we have changed concepts quite a few times now over the last 2 years. It's not an easy path that Mercedes has chosen because after changing so much about the car and the concepts, they've spent so much time and money on something that could very well mean it's not going to work anytime soon. So you could understand the frustration from Hamilton and why he's leaving for Ferrari. But on the other hand, it doesn't mean that Mercedes can't turn things around this year or next. Their main hope is in 2026, when the cars will make 40% less downforce and the team's performance will depend on the engines, as well as the battery power of the car. But to say that Mercedes can gain a lot of performance without fixing the main problem with matching simulator data to real track data is definitely unrealistic. Because whenever they're going to test these upgrades in the simulator, they would get a result that they have no idea whether or not it will actually work on the track. Or to put it simply, they would be much more convinced that it won't work on the track based on what happened before. This is why they're not realistically in a good position to find a huge chunk of performance like McLaren did throughout the 2023 season. Although it's worth mentioning that if there is a team capable of pulling this off in 2024, it's most likely Mercedes. When talking about what to expect from Miami, Wolff also said, "We are lacking speed and we have got to dig deep. We have got something coming for Miami that looks like a good step. Let's see where that brings us. It is not an okay car. We can see what the mistakes are on the car. We wanted to go a bit more aggressive to see if it was something so different we needed to do on that car, and you can see Lewis today took it too far. That was maybe a step too far. The race car was not fast. You heard him saying the car doesn't turn, and this is what we can see in the data. It wasn't the right thing to do." Again, we are going back to the main problem of Mercedes, which is matching what happens in the simulator with what happens on the real track. An engineer from the aerodynamic department has also talked about this problem and how it stops the car from reaching its best performance because of the limits it puts on how well the upgrades work on the car. He said, "It has been 2.5 years since the car on the track does not match our computer simulations. We moved the settings countless times, and most of the time they did not match the car driving on the track. So almost all of us go into, I'll believe it when I see it mode when it comes to more upgrades like the one we are doing now. There is definitely a lot to be worked on, and it seems like Mercedes is eager to get as much potential as they can from the new concept. But considering that most of these changes were made based on Hamilton's comments and he is now leaving the team, it could very well mean that Mercedes will move towards their old basics and try to add as much downforce as possible and then deal with the problems afterwards. While this might sound like a desperate thing to do, it's definitely the best solution that Mercedes has right now after they are currently having their worst start of a season since 2012, and fighting for 6th place is not what they had in mind when they entered the 2024 season from Bahrain onwards. With all this in mind, do you think that Mercedes has what it takes to turn their luck around in Miami? And more importantly, do you think there is a chance for them to add more performance to their current car? Let us know what you think in the comments below, and if interested, click on the video appearing on your screen right now.